The city of Mumbai never sleeps, it hums, roars, and sparkles under the weight of its own heartbeat. Cars race down the roads like flashes of chrome lightning. Rickshaws honk their chaotic symphony, and street vendors shout over one another to sell chai, vada, pave, and roasted corn by the sea. But amidst that endless noise and motion lived one silent observer, a brown stray dog known by the locals as Boss. No one remembered where Boss came from. Some said he was born behind the Carter Road Cafe line. Others swore they'd seen him jump off a fisherman's boat one stormy night years ago. What everyone agreed on was this Boss ruled that stretch of road. He didn't bark without reason, didn't chase without purpose, and never, ever moved for traffic unless he wanted to. Every morning, he made his royal rounds. First stop, the tea stall near the seawall. The chaiwala Ramesh would pour a few drops of milk in a saucer just for him. "Aapka chai, boss," he'd say with mock respect. Boss would wag his tail once, drink, and move on like a king acknowledging tribute. Next, he'd stop near the park where joggers stretched. He'd watch them curiously, sometimes jogging a few steps alongside them, sometimes sitting under a tree when he was bored. Everyone knew him, greeted him, even gave him food, but nobody owned him, and that's the way Boss liked it. Until that Sunday morning, the air was sticky with the scent of the ocean, and the streets shimmered with the reflection of early sunlight bouncing off expensive cars. Boss was halfway through his morning patrol when he heard it, a low, thunderous growl, like a beast waking from its sleep. He turned his head, ears twitching. Down the road, a bright yellow Lamborghini Huracan glided forward, its engine purring like a jungle cat. Pedestrians turned their heads. Phone cameras came out instantly. It wasn't every day you saw a car like that on Carter Road. The driver, a young man in designer shades, was clearly enjoying the attention. He revved the engine loudly, echoing his confidence through the street. But as he approached the curve near the seawall, he saw something ahead. A brown stray dog standing dead center in his lane. "Boss," the driver honked once. The horn blared, echoing down the road. Boss didn't flinch. He just stood there, tail down, gaze fixed. Another honk, louder this time. The dog tilted his head slightly, as if to say, "That all you got?" People started watching. Someone across the street began recording with their phone. A group of bikers laughed, shouting, "Airy, bye. Even Boss doesn't care about your car." The Lamborghini rolled forward slowly, its nose inches from the dog. The driver shouted out the window, "Move, Chalhat." Boss didn't move. He stepped closer. The laughter grew louder. A fruit seller yelled, "He's not scared of your Lamborghini, sob." The driver sighed, ran a hand through his hair, and finally got out of the car. The cameras zoomed in. The golden rims sparkled. His shoes gleamed, but right in front of him stood this scruffy, scarred street dog, calm as a monk. "Yar, what is this nonsense?" The man muttered, "Go shoo." He waved his hand, took a few steps closer, and that's when he saw it. Paws wasn't just standing there randomly. Behind him, at the corner of the road, a small puppy, barely old enough to walk, was struggling to climb the curb. Cars had been whizzing by dangerously close, and Voss had planted himself in the lane to block them. The Lamborghini driver froze. His expression softened. He watched as the puppy finally made it to the footpath. Safe. Voss turned, glanced at the pup, then looked back at the man, as if giving silent permission now. "You can go." The crowd cheered. Someone clapped. Others whistled. The driver laughed nervously, shaking his head. "You're unbelievable, buddy." The man climbed back into his car, gave a small rev, and this time, drove carefully around Boss. The dog, mission complete, trotted off toward the chai stall, tail high like a flag of victory. Within hours, the video of the encounter hit social media. Caption: "When a street dog stops a Lamborghini #RealBoss #Mumbai Moments by afternoon." It had over 1 million views. Comments flooded in. "He's the true king of the road. Even rich cars bow to street dogs in India. Someone please adopt this legend." News channels ran short clips. Influencers reposted it with heart emojis. Someone even made a meme of Boss wearing sunglasses with the words "Move over, humans. Road belongs to me." By the evening, the same yellow Lamborghini returned, but this time, it didn't roar or speed. The driver, whose name was Arav Kapoor, a well-known YouTuber, parked quietly near the seawall and got out with a packet of biscuits. He looked around. "Where's the king?" As if on cue, Both appeared from the shade, tail wagging lazily. Arav knelt down, holding out a biscuit. "Hey buddy, I owe you one." Boss sniffed, took the biscuit gently, then sat beside him facing the sea, like old friends watching the sunset together. For the first time that day, the influencer wasn't performing for a camera. He just sat in silence, beside a dog who had unknowingly humbled him in front of millions. When Arav finally got up to leave, Boss followed him halfway to the car, then stopped, sat down, and looked up. Arav smiled. "You're not just a stray, are you? You're the boss of this street." Boss barked once, loud and clear, like an answer. By the next morning, Carter Road looked different. Not because the sun shone brighter, or the ocean sounded calmer, but because the quiet brown dog who once guarded the sidewalk was now a celebrity. Everywhere Boss went, people called out, "Hey, that's the Lamborghini dog, selfie, selfie Boss." Someone even made a poster with his face and taped it to a lamppost. Mumbai's real traffic cop, Boss, the Chihuahua Ramesh, couldn't stop smiling. "Aj, ta humari boss, ki fail you bad. Guy, look at this. He's trending more than film stars." Even the cops driving past slowed down to salute him jokingly. Boss, of course, ignored all of it. He didn't care about likes, followers, or fame. All he wanted was his milk saucer and his morning walk by the sea. But fame, even the pure kind, changes things. By afternoon, 3 different YouTubers came to Carter Road with cameras, hoping to collab with the famous dog. One wore sunglasses bigger than his face. "Bro, imagine if he barks once on camera. We'll hit 5 million views." Another added, "We can title it, Dog Who Taught Me Humanity." They chased Boss around, trying to get him to do something cute, but Boss wasn't performing. He dodged, walked away, and finally disappeared behind the row of parked bikes near the cafe. That's when Arav arrived. He had seen the videos too, not the ones he posted, but the hundreds of copies and edits others made. His face appeared in all of them, but strangely, no one cared about him. The comments weren't about Arav Kapoor, the influencer with 6 million subscribers. They were about Boss, the dog who refused to move for luxury. Arav walked toward Ramesh's tea stall. "Uncle, where's he gone?" Ramesh smiled knowingly. "Back lane, Paws, under the banyan tree. He goes there when the world gets too noisy." Arav followed the directions. He found Boss lying in the shade, half asleep. His front paw wrapped around something, a small, torn piece of cloth with faint embroidery on it. Arav crouched down, gently touching it. The cloth looked old, maybe from a shirt or a child's blanket. "Hey, you okay, big guy?" Arav whispered. Boz opened one eye, wagged his tail lazily. Arav smiled and sat beside him, placing a packet of biscuits next to him. "You know, Boss, I used to think I was famous," Arav said softly, "until you showed up. Now I realize. Maybe people needed something real." Boss blinked, then nudged the cloth toward him, as if offering to share his secret. Arav picked it up carefully. There was a faint stitched name on the corner. "Milo." "Milo," Arav read out. "Is that your real name?" For a moment, Boss, or perhaps Milo, looked straight into his eyes. And in that silence, something shifted. Arav felt like the dog understood every word. That evening, Arav made a decision. He opened his camera not to vlog or show off, but to tell a story. "This," he said, pointing toward the banyan tree, "is Boss. Or maybe Milo. I don't know, but he's more than a viral clip. He's lived here for years, helping people in ways no one noticed." He filmed the Chihuahua talking about how Boss once scared away a thief who tried to steal his cash box. He filmed the fruit seller who said Boss followed her daughter home every night until she reached safely. He even filmed the kids who played with Boss after school, calling him their guardian angel. The video wasn't flashy. No fancy editing, no background music. Just simple clips stitched together with Arav's voice saying, "Sometimes, heroes don't wear capes. Sometimes, they just wait for milk at a tea stall." He titled it, "The Real Boss of Mumbai." Within 24 hours, the video hit 10 million views. Celebrities shared it. News anchors talked about it. Animal shelters reached out, asking if they could help care for him. But amidst the praise, one message caught Arav's attention. It was from an old woman named Mrs. Fernandez, living in Bandra. She wrote, "That dog, he looks exactly like our Milo. My grandson lost him 2 years ago after a car accident. We searched everywhere." Arav froze. The name stitched on the cloth, the calm eyes, the protective nature, everything matched. He replied immediately, asking for details. She sent an old photo, a younger version of Boss, clean and bright-eyed, wearing a red collar, same eyes, same posture, same scar on the ear. Boss was Milo. Arav didn't know what to feel. Happiness that he had found Milo's family, or sadness that the dog might have to leave the street, he ruled. That evening, he brought Mrs. Fernandez and her grandson to Carter Road. The boy, maybe 10 years old, ran forward the moment he saw Boss. "Milo, Milo," he shouted, tears already streaming down his cheeks. Boss turned, ears perking up. For a second, he froze as if recognizing a sound buried deep in memory. Then he barked once, twice, and ran straight toward the boy. The reunion silenced the whole street. Even Ramesh stopped pouring chai. People clapped, cried, and filmed, but this time, it didn't feel like content. It felt like closure. Mrs. Fernandez hugged Arav. "Thank you, Beta, you brought him back." But when she turned to leave with Milo, something unexpected happened. The dog hesitated. He looked at the boy, then at Arav, then back toward the sea, the road, the people, the home he had guarded for years. Arav knelt down beside him. "Hey buddy, go with them. That's your family." Boss Milo nuzzled his hand one last time, wagged his tail slowly, and then walked away beside the boy. The crowd cheered softly. Arav stood there, watching until the car disappeared. The ocean breeze blew against his face, but it felt emptier than usual. That night, he uploaded one final post. "Goodbye, boss. You taught me more about loyalty and love than any human ever could." The video ended with a single-shot Boss running along the beach at sunset, the waves crashing beside him. A year had passed since that unforgettable day at Carter Road, the day when the stray dog who once stopped a Lamborghini found his family again. The internet had moved on to new trends, new memes, new sensations. But for those who had seen the story unfold, the name Boss, or Milo, still carried something sacred. For Arav, life had changed in quiet ways. His videos now focused on real stories of kindness, compassion, and animals. His channel wasn't about flashy cars anymore, but about heart. He even started an initiative called Paws and Purpose, helping street dogs get food and shelter through small donations from his followers. But no matter how far he went, one part of him always felt incomplete. Every time he passed Carter Road, he half expected to see that familiar brown blur Boss sitting near Ramesh's tea stall, waiting for his saucer of milk, watching the world like it belonged to him. But the spot was always empty, until one monsoon evening. The sky had opened up suddenly, heavy rain pouring down in sheets. People ran for cover, bikes sputtered, and the sea crashed angrily against the rocks. Arav, drenched but calm, parked his scooter near the old banyan tree, the same place where Boss used to sleep. He was there to deliver raincoats and food to a few local stray dogs he'd been feeding lately. As he placed a bowl under the shelter of the tree, he heard a faint sound, a low whine. He turned and froze. A brown dog stood a few feet away, dripping wet, limping slightly, his fur darker now, a few new scars marking his back, but those eyes hadn't changed. Boss Arav whispered, his voice trembling. The dog tilted his head, then wagged his tail once cautiously, like he wasn't sure if this was real. Arav took a slow step forward. "Buddy, it's you, isn't it?" Boss took 2 hesitant steps closer, then broke into a run, crashing into Arav's arms, whining, licking, shaking with relief. Arav hugged him tightly, tears mixing with rain. "You came back," Arav whispered, voice cracking. "You came back, you crazy hero." For several minutes, they just stayed like that, man and dog, under the storm, reunited, not by chance but by destiny. When the rain finally softened, Arav noticed something on Boss's neck, a red collar, faded but still visible. It was the same collar Mrs. Fernandez had shown him in that photo a year ago, but attached now was a small silver tag, engraved with one word, hero. Later that night, over a cup of steaming chai at Ramesh's stall, RF learned the rest of the story. After going home with his family, Milo had lived happily for almost a year. But a few months ago, Mrs. Fernandez had passed away peacefully in her sleep. Her grandson, now studying in another city, couldn't keep Milo due to his hostile restrictions. So, one morning, the gate had been left open, and Milo, perhaps sensing his world had changed, walked away, and somehow, he found his way back. Back to Carter Road. Back to the one person who had truly seen him. Ramesh wiped his eyes. Lagda hi, Boss Kadilyahan hi Thabeta. This was his home all along. Arav smiled sadly, patting Boss's head. Yeah, maybe he just came back to finish his story. Days passed, and soon, Boss became a familiar sight again, sitting near the tea stall, guarding the footpath, chasing pigeons, greeting tourists, and occasionally staring at the sea as if it told him secrets only he could hear. RF made a new vlog about his return, titled, "Some Heroes Never Leave, They Just Find Their Way Back." The video wasn't meant to go viral, but it did. Again, millions watched it, crying, smiling, remembering why they fell in love with Boss in the first place. But this time, the story didn't end with views or fame. It ended with legacy. Arav used the video's donations to build a small dog shelter near Carter Road, naming it the Boss Haven. Its signboard read, "In memory of one stray who taught us all how to stay." The shelter became home to dozens of strays, all fed, loved, and protected. Boss spent his days among them, acting as a silent guardian. Sometimes, when tourists stopped by, they would recognize him from the viral videos and say, "Hey, that's the Lamborghini dog." But Boss didn't care. He would just wag his tail once, yawn, and go back to sleep under his favorite tree. He didn't need the world to remember his name, because for him, his world was already right there. A boy who loved him, a friend who fed him a sea that sang him lullabies, and a city that finally saw him, not as a stray but as a story of love, loyalty, and life itself. Years later, when Boss was gone peacefully, in his sleep, Arav buried him under that banyan tree, beside a small plaque that read, "Here rests Boss, the dog who stopped a Lamborghini, but taught the world to start loving again." And sometimes, when the waves were quiet and the streets were still, locals swore they could still see a brown blur walking along Carter Road at sunset, tail wagging, head high, guarding his city once more, because some dogs never really leave.